In this video, we will show you how to replace your driver's side mirror. Let's get started. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. We're gonna come right over here to this panel and carefully remove it. I'll do that using a small pick and be careful not to tear it. Just got a little bit of adhesive behind there. We'll give that a quick inspection, make sure it's still reusable, and set it aside. Let's start removing our master window switch from the door panel. To remove this, we'll use a plastic trim tool. Carefully get underneath this forward area, right in the center. There's going to be a locking clip. Once you get in between there, gently press it and lift this up. Now from underneath this area, we're going to start dislodging all three of our electrical connectors. This will be easiest using a small pocket screwdriver. For this one, we're going to carefully get right in the center, gently press on this area, and lift this up and off. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, take a peek. If you see any funny colors, that's considered corrosion, and that would need to be dealt with. This looks fine, so I'll continue. This one has a locking clip in the center as well. Quick inspection. Move along. Let's pop this off of here. Let's continue on by removing this armrest. Under this, you're going to find that you have three locking clips. We'll use a plastic trim tool, carefully get under this area and gently start prying it up. There we are. You can see the clips. Behind that area, you're going to find one 10mm headed mounting bolt. Remove it. Now let's move along to this area. We'll gently remove it by either using a pocket screwdriver or a pick. Get in between this area and gently pry. Once it starts coming apart, just go ahead and pull it right out of there. Let's continue on to the two bolts that are located behind that area. We'll use a 10mm and a magnet to remove them. There they are. Continue on straight underneath that. You're going to find your inside door handle. Behind that door handle, you're going to find a small rectangular trap door. Use a small screwdriver or pick. Go ahead and pop that door out of place. Once you have that out of there, continue on to removing the hidden 10mm headed bolt. There's that. Now that that's off of there, we're going to continue on by removing this panel. Underneath that panel, you'll find one more 10mm headed bolt right over here. At this point, we have all of our mounting hardware off of the door panel. We're going to start separating the door panel from the door itself using a plastic trim tool. Before you start taking it off, keep in mind there is still two cables located behind this. One of them leads to the door handle area. The other one's going to make its way all the way over here to the door lock area. So once you pop this off, we're going to start dealing with those. Just make your way along one corner of this panel and start pulling it off, being extremely careful for any pinch points. Once you have the bottom pulled off, carefully lift it up. Now we can turn this so we can gain access to our two cables. Let's start by removing the door handle cable. That's the shorter cable. Go ahead and grab onto that and pull it away from the door panel. It's going to dislodge from this area. Once you have it dislodged, we'll continue on to removing the actual cable area from inside the handle. Give it a quick inspection. We'll set that aside and do the same thing for the door lock. Remove the door panel. Now that we have the door panel off, the next thing I want to pay attention to is the fact that there should be a vapor barrier or a clear plastic that goes over this area. Ours is missing, so I don't have anything to show you. But if you do, we're going to have to move along to removing it from this area so we can gain access along here, which is where the mirror wiring is located. Now let's continue on with our small pocket screwdriver. We're going to come right along this electrical connector, which is the connector for the mirror itself. Carefully get in between here, gently pry to separate it. Give it a quick inspection, and then slide it down inside of this area. Now we can continue on to dismounting the mirror from the door. You're going to find that you have 4 10mm headed nuts holding it in place. Keep in mind, these are the only things holding the mirror in there. So when you go to remove the last one, make sure you have a strong hold on the mirror so it doesn't fall down. Now for this last one, I'll make sure I'm holding the mirror to the door. Now that I have all those mounting bolts out of there, I'm going to hold onto the mirror. I'm going to try to give it a little wiggle. You'll notice that it's still generally stuck in this position. That's because there's a little push clip. Sometimes it holds well, sometimes it doesn't. If it's holding it in place, continue on with a plastic trim tool and gently separate it. There's that little push pin I was mentioning. Now we can carefully lift the wiring up and out of the door and remove the mirror from the area. There it is, friends. Now that we have the mirror out of the way, let's continue on with cleaning up the area where our brand new mirror is going to mount. All right, let's get ready for our installation. We're going to take that cable and slide it through the outer side of the door, all the way down through this area, and make sure it comes out down here. Once we have it out of there, we'll also continue on with all 4 of our mounting studs. We want to make sure that we put those in place. Before we do any of that, you want to make sure that you do have the gasket on the back side of the mirror. This is going to be the insulation in between the mirror and the door itself. There we are. So now at least I have it down in this area. We'll make sure we have it in the proper area in 1 second. Let's go ahead and put in those mounting studs and eventually our mounting nuts. Now I'm just going to take my mounting nuts, put them onto the socket with a short extension so I can start them by hand. Once you have a couple of them started, you should be able to release that mirror and then continue on. Once they're all started, snug them up. Make sure they're nice and tight so the mirror does not vibrate on you while you're driving down the road. Once you have the mirror tight, we're going to continue on to that wiring. Now for the wiring, you want to make sure that you do not come in between this area, which is where the window channel is. When you put the window down, the wiring is going to get caught right in there. We want to make sure we're in between this area, so we're on the outside of the channel and we make our way through this area of the door. At this point, I'm sure that as the window comes down, it will not get caught on my wiring. We'll continue on with our connector and slide it into place. Listen for a click. Make sure it's secure. Okay, the next thing that you would want to do would be to put back on the weather barrier that goes across here. As I told you prior, this was already removed from our application, so I have nothing to show you for this. But all you want to do is put it back in the original position as where you had removed it. Once you've done that, we're going to continue on to both of our cables. Take that door panel and hold it up like this. We'll take the longer cable and put it into the locking mechanism back here. Slides right into that hole. Now I'm going to swing this area where you can see the bevel and lock it into the door panel itself. Press it in, listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Let's continue on to the cable that leads to the door handle. You can see at the end of the cable it has this little round ball. We're going to slide it right into the placement on the handle itself and then bring it this way. Now the same as the door lock one, you've got that little area here that needs to lock into the door panel. Press it in, listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's completely secure. Now let's bring the door panel over here. I'm going to grab the wiring coming through this top slot. We'll pull it up and through. Take the door panel and bring it up nice and high. You'll notice along this area of the door panel, there's a ridge, and along here on the door, there's an area for it to fit into. Let's lift it up nice and high, set it down into there. Holding the wires up so they're not inside the door, we can continue on by looking along the side. What we're paying attention to is the little push tabs that are located in the panel and the holes that are in the door for them to line up with. Just get it so they're lined up and then give it a loving bonk to drive them all in, all the way around the door panel. Once you're sure all those push clips are installed, we're going to start putting in our mounting bolts. Let's start with the one that's directly underneath the handle here. You remember that we had 2 mounting screws in that area. We're going to put in the one that's on the left. Go ahead and put it in, snug it up. Once that's in there, continue on with this panel. You can see you have your little locking clips making their way around. We'll put it in place and place it in there. Once it's there, continue on with your 10mm headed bolt and then put on your little trap door. Now for this little trap door, you want to pay attention to the back side. You'll find it has one large locking ear and a smaller one. The area with the large ear should be on the left side. Now let's continue up here. Once you have that bolt in there, continue on with the armrest. Line up all 3 of your mounting points with the corresponding holes in the door panel. Once it's lined up, press it in. Now let's continue on to the 2 bolts that hold the grab handle. Put that in my socket. We'll start it in here. Let's put our cover on. All right, let's get this installed. Press it in and listen for a click. Continue on down the line. Once you have that in place, continue on by putting the rear in first and then sliding it down towards the front to lock it in position. Now we can put on our protective panel that goes over the mounting bolts for the mirror. Line it up in position and press it on. Now that we have the door panel back on, we need to make sure that we test the inside door handle to make sure it's hooked up correctly. To do that, we're going to come right over here to the door latch. Use a screwdriver and come right inside this area. I'm going to pull it towards me. Now at this point, the latch thinks that the striker is in the closed position. The door's shut. Now while I'm holding pressure, forcing it away, I'm going to come over here and try to pull on the inside door handle. Assuming it releases, everything should be hooked up fine. At that point, you can move along. Okay friends, we fully installed our mirror. At this point, go ahead and put the key in the on position. Put the mirror switch to the left, because that's the mirror that we replaced, and test its functionality. Make sure it goes up and down, left and right. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.